To debate on land, and we've been following on this show, especially as Parliament has appointed a committee to consult with the public and determine if and how the Constitution needs to be changed to facilitate land expropriation without compensation. Well, the Agricultural Industry Association, Agri SA, says the Constitution does not need to be amended to bring about land reform. Agri SA, representing 28,000 farmers, says the solutions for sustainable and equitable land reform are already contained in policy documents and current law. Joining us from our Sea Point studio in Cape Town is Annelize Crosby, Agri SA's head of the Centre of Excellence on Land. Thank you for being with us, Ms. Crosby. So you will be engaging with these MPs. What's the timeline?
The Constitutional Review Committee is currently hosting the provincial hearings. They will be busy with that until around the beginning of August, after which there will be parliamentary hearings in Cape Town where national organisations such as hopefully Agri SA will also get an opportunity to make oral submissions to the committee.
Now, let's clarify what you're saying. Are you saying there should be no expropriation without compensation? Or are you saying that the law doesn't need to be changed? A big debate, some would say Section 25 of the Constitution already allows for that.
Yes, so in our submission to the Constitutional Review Committee, we address a number of issues. Our stance is very clearly that we are not in favour of any amendment to Section 25. We are saying that we do not think that it is necessary to change Section 25 at all. Section 25 strikes a balance between the protection of existing rights and measures to redress the imbalances of the past as far as land ownership and tenure is concerned. And we think that the Constitution has never been tested, that it does actually allow for sustainable and speedy land reform. The problems we think are things such as an inadequate budget, lack of implementation, corruption, and lots of other things that have been pointed to by a number of reports that have seen the light recently around land reform. So we think that within the constitutional framework, it is completely possible to speed up land reform and to do it in a sustainable manner, making use of things like, for example, some of the Operation Phakisa outcomes. Operation Phakisa process was a very lengthy process involving everybody in the sector over a number of months that came up with specific proposals around land reform. Also, the National Development Plan, we think, is eminently workable, but has never been implemented to its full extent.
Ms. Crosby, do you think there's any scope for expropriation without compensation?
We don't think that it's necessary to go there, and we are very worried about the negative impacts that would have on the sector and the economy as a whole. So there's a whole host of things that needs to be tried before we even consider expropriating land without compensation.
What would you say to those who think this is so typical? White farmers opposed to land reform, not wanting to be part of perhaps righting the wrongs of the past or redistribution?
So we are very clear as an organisation that we are not against land reform at all. We have been advocating for sustainable land reform for a long time. We have come up with a number of our own proposals, a holistic plan, a financing plan, and if you go and look at the projects that our affiliations are running with, and the kind of money that is being spent on the development of black farmers, and that is being spent even by individual farmers on sort of partnerships with farm workers and black farmers, that illustrates, I think, that there is a commitment amongst individual white commercial farmers, but also in the sector as a whole, to make land reform work. But for us, it's very important that it happens in an orderly and in a sustainable manner.
I see you've also audited land to some extent, and of course this is something that a lot of officials, including the president, say we need to understand how much is owned by whom, how much land government owns. I see that you say landowners who are not white own 26% or thereabouts of agricultural land. White farmers, 73%. That is down from 1994, but still 73% of agricultural land owned by white farmers.
That is correct. If you look at hectareage, those are indeed the numbers that the land audit came up with. But there's also a bit of a bigger picture to consider, because obviously land in the Karoo, cannot be equated to land in some of our high rainfall areas with high potential. So if you look at the potential of land, the figure is actually quite different. Then up to 46, I think it's 46.5% of the land potential is actually in the eastern parts of our country, in provinces such as KwaZulu-Natal and the Eastern Cape. And a lot of that land is not being farmed commercially. A lot of that is under communal tenureship. And we would very much like to see that the agricultural potential of that land is unlocked, because we think that that is important for food security for the future of our country.
Very quickly, because I'm really interested, how is this debate around expropriation affecting farmers who are part of your organization right now, if at all?
So farmers are obviously worried. Uncertainty is the biggest enemy of investment. And in farming, you need continuous investment by the farmer and by outside parties. So the uncertainty is not good for the sector. But we are encouraging our members to participate in these provincial hearings of the Constitutional Review Committee that are currently taking place. We are encouraging our affiliates to come up with sustainable solutions, which they are doing. And, we're trying to keep our membership positive and to make a contribution to be part of the solution to this very sensitive issue.
All right, thank you very much. Agri SA's Annelize Crosby. We take short break.